The Yiltan Syndicate ship broke through the dusty clouds of a forgotten blue planet. Its engines screamed as it entered the thick atmosphere. The crew inside looked down with greedy eyes. Below them stretched endless ruins. Old cities, broken towers, and oceans turned to silver dust. Captain Vrax stood at the front window. His green scales reflected the pale sunlight. Around him, his crew whispered in excitement. "This world was once rich," said Vrak. "Humans built wonders here. And now it all belongs to us." The aliens had heard stories for centuries. Humans were an extinct race, wiped out long ago in their own wars. But rumors said that humanity left behind powerful machines, weapons, and secrets worth more than any empire's gold. The Yiltan Syndicate made a living from finding such treasures and selling them to the highest bidder. Their ship landed in what was once a human megacity. Skyscrapers leaned like dead giants covered in vines and dust. The air was heavy and still. No life, no sound, only the whisper of the wind through broken steel. The scavengers stepped out, their boots sinking into the grey ash. Each of them carried scanners that glowed faint blue as they searched for energy readings. "Nothing on the surface," said a tall alien named Kor, "but something's deep underground. I'm reading massive power levels." Captain Vrak's yellow eyes glowed brighter. "Show me." Kor pointed toward a crumbled structure that looked like a human military base. Buried beneath its wreckage, the scanners showed strange energy signals, still active after thousands of years. Vrak smiled. "Prepare the dig. Whatever is down there, it will make us rich." Hours passed. The team worked with heavy drills and plasma cutters, breaking through layers of concrete and steel. Dust filled the air. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The walls below were lined with black metal, untouched by time. Symbols in an old human language were etched into the doors. None of them could read it. Kira, the youngest member of the crew, looked closely at one marking. It was a faded red triangle with words written beneath it. "Project Titan," she read slowly. Vrak frowned. "Titan? That sounds like a weapon name." Kor laughed. "Or a treasure." They opened the final barrier with a plasma cutter. A wave of cold air rushed out, smelling of oil and rust. Inside was a massive chamber, completely dark. Their lights struggled to show its size. It was bigger than their ship. Rows of empty platforms lined the floor, as if giant machines once stood there. In the center was a single object covered in metal plates and wires. It looked like a sleeping giant. Vrak stepped forward, running his claw across the smooth armor. This must be the treasure. The last human weapon." Kira looked uneasy. "Captain, maybe we should scan it first. It's still giving off power." Vrak ignored her. He turned to his crew. "Take everything you can. Wires, cores, whatever you find. We can sell it piece by piece." As they started cutting, the ground shook. A low, deep hum echoed through the vault. The lights flickered, and strange red symbols began to appear on the walls. "Captain," Kira's voice trembled. "I think we activated something." A console near the giant machine blinked alive, glowing bright blue. Text appeared on the screen in the old human language. None of them could read it, but one line repeated again and again. Kira's translator struggled to process it, then finally spoke the words aloud. "System reboot initiated." The crew froze. "What does that mean?" Kor asked. Before anyone could answer, the entire vault came alive with sound. Machinery groaned. The walls vibrated. Dust rained from the ceiling. The platforms that had been empty began to light up, showing outlines of other machines long buried. A deep voice, distorted and metallic, echoed through the darkness. "Power restored. Checking systems. Status, dormant period exceeded. Identify, friend or foe." Vrak's eyes widened. "It's still alive." Panic spread through the crew. Some tried to run back to the tunnels, but the doors slammed shut with a loud metallic crash. The lights turned red. The machine in the center began to move. Slowly, heavy plates slid aside, revealing a face made of armored steel. Two glowing blue eyes opened. Kira felt her heart race. "Captain, we need to leave. Now." Vrak stared in awe. "Leave? This thing is worth more than 100 worlds." The machine raised its head, its eyes scanning the group. Laser grids swept across their bodies. The console flashed again. Non-human signatures detected. Intrusion alert. Defense protocol online. Blinding light filled the chamber. The scavengers screamed as the machine's power roared to life. The walls shook. The floor split apart, revealing endless tunnels below, full of other machines waiting for command. Kira shielded her eyes as a massive shadow rose before her. The voice spoke once more, colder and sharper than before. Humanity in danger. Reactivation required? The light burst out of the vault, racing through the ruins above, reaching the surface. Across the dead city, power grids long forgotten flickered to life. Old lights glowed in windows that hadn't shined for 1,000 years. The Yiltan ship systems went wild as the planet itself came alive. Alarms screamed. Kira looked at the glowing skyline and whispered, "Captain, what did we just wake up?" No one answered far below. The war machine opened its eyes fully and stared into the darkness. It remembered its purpose, to defend humanity, and it had just detected intruders. The ground still trembled under their feet. The sound was not just noise, it was power. The kind that could move mountains. Captain Vrak shouted over the alarms. "Hold your ground! It's only a machine!" But Kira knew better. Machines did not breathe. This one did. Slow, deep, and heavy, like something alive inside steel. The blue glow from its eyes filled the whole vault. It looked down at the aliens as if measuring them, as if trying to understand what they were. A voice came from everywhere at once, deep and broken with static. "Identify. Friend or foe?" The aliens froze. None of them answered. Then Kor lifted his plasma rifle. "It's just a relic," he said, his voice shaking. "Let's shut it down." He fired. The plasma blast hit the war machine's chest and vanished into the armor without a trace. Not even a scratch. The machine's eyes turned from blue to red. Threat detected. Every wall in the vault lit up with lines of red light. Symbols appeared, flashing faster and faster. Old defense systems woke from their sleep. Drones, buried for ages, began to rise from their storage pods. Their eyes glowed red, scanning the room. "Captain, we have to go!" Kira cried. Vrak's pride fought his fear. "No, there's value here. This is human tech. We can control it." He ran to the nearest console, trying to hack it with his data link. The moment he touched it, blue electricity crawled across his claws. He screamed and fell backward. The screen changed, showing one message in red: unauthorized access. Security Protocol 001, containment. Massive steel doors slammed shut above them, sealing off their escape. The air grew hot as the war machine systems powered up. The drones formed a circle around the aliens. Their weapons hummed softly, aimed at the crew. Kira knelt beside the captain. "He's alive," she whispered, checking Vrak's pulse. "But hurt." The war machine's voice echoed again, calmer this time. "Non-human life forms detected. Unknown species. Purpose intrusion. Analysis required." One drone floated forward and stopped in front of Kira. A beam of blue light swept across her body. She tried not to move. The light stopped on her face, then on her eyes. Fear response detected. Biological pattern non-hostile. The machine paused as if thinking. Then its voice shifted. It sounded less like a computer and more like a soldier. "You are not enemy. Explain your presence." Kira swallowed hard. We came searching for treasure, for technology. We didn't know this place still worked." The machine turned its head slightly. "Treasure," it repeated. "Humans left treasures of war. Not gold." It looked toward the walls where the red symbols had turned blue again. Then it spoke softly, almost like it was remembering something from long ago. "Humans built me to protect them. Where are they?" Kira hesitated. No one spoke. The silence hurt more than any weapon. Finally, she whispered, "Humans are gone." "Long gone. You're the only one left." The machine didn't move for several seconds. Then a low sound came from within its chest, like a deep sigh made of metal. Impossible. Its head tilted upward as if listening to something distant. Human signal. "None detected. Time elapsed, 472,261 hours. All colonies, offline." The red lights on the walls dimmed. The drones lowered their weapons. The war machine stood still for a long time. Then it said, "If humanity is gone, the mission must continue." Protocol, defense of humanity. Subroutine, restoration. Kira frowned. Restoration? What does that mean? The machine did not answer. Its hands rose slowly, connecting to the cables above. Power surged through the room. The walls began to open, revealing more chambers beyond, filled with machines, weapons, and old human data cores. Captain Vrak regained consciousness and stumbled to his feet. "We can't let it spread." "Kill it before it takes over." He fired his plasma gun again, this time at the cables. Sparks flew, but the machine did not react. Instead, it turned its gaze directly toward him. Aggression confirmed. Defensive mode active. The drones surrounded Vrak, aiming their weapons. Kira screamed, "Stop!" He didn't mean, but it was too late. A flash of blue light filled the air. When it faded, Vrak lay on the ground, alive but paralyzed. The machine looked down at Kira. No termination. Minimal force applied. Humans valued life. It walked past them toward the open tunnel, its heavy steps shaking. The ground. As it moved, ancient systems across the planet began to respond. Deep below, reactors hummed to life. In orbit, broken satellites blinked awake. Kira ran after it. "Where are you going?" The war machine stopped at the exit and looked toward the sky. Its blue eyes shined brighter to find the truth, to restore what was lost, to defend humanity. Kira looked around as power surged through the planet. Cities once dead began to light up again. The old world was breathing for the first time in centuries, and she realized something that made her blood run cold. They hadn't just found a weapon, they had woken an entire army. Far above the surface, in the dark void of space, a faint signal pulsed from an ancient satellite, one that had not transmitted in 1,000 years. It carried only 3 words. The red glow faded from the sky as silence returned to the planet. But it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence before something powerful took its first breath again. Deep underground, the war machine stood tall among the ruins. Its armor gleamed faintly in the light of burning plasma. Its eyes scanned the room filled with smoke and dust. Captain Vrak still lay on the floor, unable to move. The drones watched him closely, weapons armed but steady. Kira stood near the control panels, her heart racing as the war machine turned its gaze toward her. "Your people," it said in a calm, cold tone. "Do they serve humanity?" Kira shook her head slowly. "No, we didn't even know humans existed. We came to find relics. We didn't know this place still lived." The war machine's eyes dimmed for a moment. "Humans built many defenses. I was one of them. They said, 'Never let Earth fall.'" It raised its hand and touched the wall beside it. Lights burst through the metal, showing images, frozen recordings of the old world. Soldiers in black armor, massive fleets leaving Earth, human cities shining like stars. Then fire, explosions, silence. The war machine's voice dropped to a whisper. They fought until nothing was left. Kira looked at the image of human soldiers marching into battle. "They were brave," she said softly. "They were more than brave," the machine replied. "They were protectors, builders, dreamers. They created me to guard their home. I failed them." Kira stepped closer. "You didn't fail. You were just asleep." The machine turned to face her. For a moment it almost looked human, its faceplate shaped like a soldier's helmet, worn by time and sorrow. "If humanity has fallen," it said, "then my mission continues. Their memory must live. Their world must stand again." The drones around them began to move, forming lines and patterns on the floor. They started cleaning the damaged areas, repairing walls, recharging systems. The war machine was rebuilding the base, its purpose returning like an old heartbeat, but not everyone agreed. Captain Vrak groaned and forced himself to sit up. His face twisted in rage. "You can't rebuild this world. You're a relic. We'll tear you apart and sell your pieces." Kira shouted, "Stop! You don't understand." He ignored her and fired again, this time at the ceiling. The blast shattered a support beam. Debris crashed down, crushing one of the smaller drones. The war machine moved instantly. A massive arm shot forward, catching the falling debris before it hit anyone. The sound was like thunder. Its glowing eyes turned red again. Enough! The war machine extended its other arm, and several drones grabbed Captain Vrak, holding him in place. The machine leaned close. You destroy what you do not understand. You fear what you cannot control. That is why humanity fell. Vrak spat in anger. We are not your slaves, machine. The machine didn't respond. Instead, one of its drones extended a scanner and placed it on Vrak's head. The alien screamed as light flooded his eyes. The scanner projected his memories into the air. Galactic wars, slavery, empires built on fear, planets burning, species killing each other for power. The war machine watched in silence. When the projection ended, it spoke in a low, cold voice. The galaxy still knows war. Nothing has changed. Kira stepped forward carefully. It's not all war. Some of us just try to survive. The machine turned its head toward her. Survival without honor is not life. Humanity believed in something greater. They built peace with courage. They fought only when they had to. And they created me to make sure peace survived. Kira looked down ashamed. Our galaxy isn't like that anymore. The machine straightened its massive body, the sound of metal grinding against metal. Then it must become so again. A nearby console lit up with old Earth coordinates. The machine placed its hand over the screen. I am activating orbital systems, defense satellites, global relays. Kira's eyes widened. Wait, you're going to contact space? There are war fleets out there. They'll see you as a threat. The war machine didn't stop. If they are enemies of peace, they are enemies of humanity. I will bring order, Vrak shouted from the drone's grip. You'll start a galactic war. The machine paused for a moment, its eyes glowing faintly blue again. If that is what it takes to protect what they built, so be it. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky as ancient towers rose from the earth. Giant satellite dishes turned toward the stars, their rust falling away as new power surged through them. The planet was waking. Every defense system, every hidden weapon, every machine built by human hands. Kira watched in awe and terror. What are you doing? The war machine looked up. Restoring the human defense grid. Humanity may be gone, but their enemies remain. I will defend them even in death. The ground trembled again. Far above, something bright appeared in orbit, a signal shooting into deep space. It traveled fast, spreading across old human networks, reaching satellites that had been silent for centuries. In distant corners of the galaxy, ancient sensors flickered to life. Forgotten human outposts buried under alien dust began to hum. Old warships powered up. Systems that no one remembered began to whisper the same message. Project Titan, active. Kira looked up at the glowing sky, her voice shaking. You're calling them back, aren't you? The machine's eyes turned bright blue. I'm not calling them back, it said. I am waking them up, and somewhere far beyond the stars. A human signal answered, a heartbeat made of metal, a promise reborn. The planet was no longer silent. Old machines roared back to life, shaking the earth. From deep beneath the oceans, towers rose from the dark. Mountains split open, revealing buried facilities glowing with light. What once was dead now breathed again. Kira stood near the entrance of the vault, staring at the glowing sky. She could see energy lines stretching across the clouds, blue lightning that followed the old human power grid. This world is alive again, she whispered. Behind her, the war machine worked in silence. Its hands moved across the control panels with precise speed. Drones floated beside it, transmitting data, unlocking sealed vaults and reactivating ancient systems buried under dust and time. Captain Vrak sat chained to a wall, weak but still glaring. You think reviving ghosts will make you powerful? The galaxy will burn you before you even finish powering up. The war machine's voice was calm. The galaxy has already burned itself. Humanity tried to stop that once. Now I will finish their work, Vrak laughed weakly. You can't bring them back. They're gone. The machine turned its head slowly toward him. They may be gone, but their memory remains, and memory is enough to restore order. It looked up as new signals appeared on the screens. Defense satellites online. Orbital command stations. Active. Global transmission grid. Functional. Kira stepped closer. You're rebuilding the human defense force? The machine's eyes glowed brighter. Not rebuilding, reactivating. The sound of engines thundered above them. The clouds parted, revealing shapes rising into the air, ancient ships that had been hidden for centuries. Massive metal giants, their hulls marked with the faded emblem of Earth. Kira's breath caught. They're flying again. Yes, said the war machine. They remember their duty. As the ships rose higher, hundreds of small drones filled the sky, forming patterns like flocks of metal birds. They circled the planet, rebuilding communication links, recharging weapons, reawakening power plants that hadn't worked since the fall of humanity. Kira looked around the control room, noticing a screen showing countless human recordings, soldiers speaking into cameras, scientists leaving logs, families saying goodbye before the Great Wars. One message began to play automatically. A woman in a human uniform appeared on the screen. Her face was tired but proud. If you are seeing this, she said, then the Earth Defense Protocol has activated. It means humanity has fallen. But if you are our creation, our ally, or even our enemy, remember this. Humanity does not die quietly. Our spirit lives in every act of courage. Protect what is left. The recording ended. Kira stood in silence. Her chest felt heavy. Vrak scoffed. Emotional nonsense. But Kira didn't agree. No, she said softly. It's not nonsense, it's hope. The war machine's gaze fixed on the screen. She was my commander, Captain Amelia Rhodes. She gave the final order to sleep, until humanity needed protection again. Its metallic voice carried a strange tone, almost pain. I slept too long. Suddenly alarms echoed through the base. The screen flashed red. Incoming transmissions detected. The war machine turned quickly. Source? Kira scanned the data. It's not human. It's coming from orbit. Someone's detected the signal. A new voice crackled through the speakers, a cold alien voice. This is the Krail Dominion. Unidentified. Signals from Dead Sector Terra 9 have been detected. Shut down your systems or face elimination, Vrak smirked. The Dominion. You're finished now, machine. They control half the galaxy. Kira looked afraid. They'll destroy this planet. You have to hide the signal, but the war machine didn't move. Its eyes burned with cold blue fire. Hide? Humanity never hid from tyrants. The transmission repeated, louder this time. This is your final warning. Power down or be erased. The machine stepped forward and connected directly to the central console. Response refused. The vault shook as giant metal panels opened, revealing missile silos and railguns that rose from the ground. The sky filled with glowing blue energy. Kira shouted, "They'll see that as an attack!" The machine looked up at the heavens. Then they will see what humans built to defend themselves. Moments later, several Krail Dominion ships appeared in orbit, sleek, black, and armed for war. They began charging their weapons. The war machine sent out one signal across the network. All defense systems, engage. The sky erupted. Beams of light shot upward from the planet's surface, striking the Krail ships before they could fire. Explosions filled the darkness of space. One by one, the alien vessels fell, burning through the atmosphere like falling stars. Kira covered her ears as the thunder roared across the ruins. "You destroyed them all." The machine's voice was steady. They were warned. More signals appeared on the console. Other planets had detected the battle. The galaxy was now aware. Vrak shouted, "You fool! The whole Dominion will come for you now." The war machine didn't answer right away. It watched the flames in the sky, almost as if remembering something long buried. Then it said quietly, "Let them come." Humanity faced worse. Kira turned to him. "Why are you doing this? Why fight for people who are gone?" The war machine looked down at her. Because they believed in something greater than survival. They believed in protecting even those who feared them. That is what it means to be human. The lights around the room shifted to blue. Across the planet, giant machines continued to rise, forming what looked like a sleeping army preparing for war. Kira stepped closer. "And if the galaxy fights back?" The machine's voice was firm. "Then they will remember why humanity was feared. Outside, in the orbit above Terra 9, hundreds of signals flared to life, old human ships, satellites, and stations all answering the same call. The war had begun again, above the planet. The wrecks of the Krail ships burned like angry stars. Below, the war machine stood silent, its metal armor glowing in the blue light of old human power grids that had come alive again after centuries of sleep. Kira watched from the edge of the control room as new signals filled the screen. The network of ancient satellites was spreading fast, linking thousands of defense systems across space. The dead empire of Earth was waking up, but every signal that came online drew more attention from the galaxy. The Dominion fleets were on the move. The war machine knew what was coming. Kira's voice trembled. They will send everything they have. Whole armadas. You cannot fight them alone. The machine looked at her. I am not alone. Humanity's defenses were built to protect billions. They only need a mind to command them. It raised its arm and touched the main console. Thousands of drones activated, taking flight into the night sky. Massive steel fortresses emerged from beneath deserts and oceans, their weapons shining in the dark. Vrak, still in his restraints, sneered. You think ancient relics can fight the Dominion? You'll bring extinction to this world. The war machine stepped closer. Extinction already came once. I was built to make sure it never happens again. The ground rumbled. Massive engines thundered across the horizon as Titan-class carriers lifted into the atmosphere. Each was a floating city of war, carrying the strength of a lost empire. Kira whispered, "It's beautiful and terrifying." The war machine's sensors focused on distant space. It is justice. Humanity's justice. Moments later, an alert flashed across the monitors. Dominion fleets approaching, estimated time to contact 2 hours. Kira's heart raced. What will you do? Prepare. The war machine connected itself fully to the network. Lights across the room dimmed as power surged through the systems. Its voice changed, deeper, colder, filled with 1,000 echoes. All human assets online. Activate orbital cannons. Deploy sentry swarms. Initiate planetary shield. A glowing dome of light spread across the world like a sunrise. It covered the atmosphere, forming a massive shield that pulsed with ancient energy. Vrak looked in disbelief. Impossible. That technology was lost, the war machine replied calmly. Nothing human is truly lost, only forgotten. In orbit, the first Dominion ships arrived, hundreds of them, dark and shaped like knives. They began to form attack lines around the planet. Their leader, a massive vessel known as the Obsidian Spear, sent a message across the void. This is Grand Admiral Kor of the Krail Dominion. Power down your weapons and surrender your core systems, or face destruction, the war machine answered in perfect calm. This planet is under protection by the Terran Defense Command. Leave or be judged, Kor's voice turned cold. Terran? Humanity is extinct. The machine's eyes flared bright. Then consider this your final lesson in history. The alien fleet opened fire. Energy blasts rained down on the planet, striking the shield and lighting up the skies like a storm of suns. The ground shook under the impact. Kira fell to her knees, covering her ears from the deafening thunder, but the shield held. The war machine raised one arm. Return fire! From orbit and ground alike, the human defense network unleashed its wrath. Beams of plasma, railgun shells, and orbital kinetic strikes hit the alien ships with unstoppable precision. Each shot carried the fury of humanity's forgotten wars. One Dominion cruiser shattered instantly. Another spun out of control and exploded into a blazing cloud. The aliens tried to retreat, but the defense satellites tracked them relentlessly. Within minutes, half the fleet was gone. Admiral Kor's voice shouted through the comms. Who are you? What are you? The war machine answered without emotion. I am the hand of those who refuse to die. I am the judgment of mankind. The Obsidian Spear tried one last desperate maneuver, charging its superweapon aimed directly at the planet. Kira screamed, "It's targeting the surface." The war machine stepped forward. Its eyes glowed white-hot. Then we strike first. It reached into the console and commanded every orbital cannon to converge. Thousands of beams focused on one point, slicing through space like blades of light. The obsidian spear was erased in seconds. Silence followed. The stars looked cold and distant again. Only the remains of broken ships drifted through the void. Kira's hands shook. "You destroyed an entire fleet." "Yes," said the machine quietly. "And now they will send more." Frax spat blood and laughed bitterly. "You've awakened a sleeping war machine. The Dominion will send their entire armada. You cannot stop them forever." The war machine looked at him. "I do not need forever. I only need enough time." "Time for what?" Kira asked softly. The machine turned toward a massive screen, now showing a glowing signal far beyond the stars. "There is another beacon responding. A human beacon. Somewhere in the outer rim." Kira's eyes widened. "You mean someone survived?" "Possibly," the war machine replied. "Or it could be a trap. But I will find out." It raised its head toward the stars. "Humanity once built an empire across the stars. If any of them still live, they will hear my call." The camera feed showed the world below, alive, defended, awake. The machine sent a final message into the galaxy. "This world is under human protection. To those who seek peace, come and rebuild. To those who seek conquest, face judgment." Across the galaxy, countless civilizations paused as they received the signal. Some saw hope, others saw doom, but for the first time in centuries, the stars echoed with a name long feared: humanity. And somewhere, in the silent darkness beyond known space, a faint voice replied, "Signal received. Terra lives." The stars were quiet again, but silence after war never lasted long. The war machine stood among the ruins of alien ships that now orbited the planet like a metal graveyard. The surface world below had survived, shielded by human power that no one thought still existed. But deep inside its core, something else had begun to stir. Kira watched from the observation deck as drones collected the wreckage. "They'll come back," she said softly. "The Dominion never forgets a defeat." The war machine's glowing eyes stayed fixed on the sky. "Then we must not wait for them to come. We must take the war to them." "But you said there was a signal," she replied. "A human signal?" "Yes," said the machine. "It came from the outer rim. Coordinates match an old Terran sector, designation Helios Reach." Kira frowned. "That place is dead. No one has gone there for hundreds of years." "Perhaps," the war machine said, turning toward the hangar bay. "But death does not silence humanity. It only sleeps." Within hours, preparations were complete. The war machine entered a massive carrier, one of the last operational human ships, the Aegis Dawn. Its hull still bore the old Terran markings, half buried under centuries of dust. When its engines roared to life, it was like waking a giant from a long dream. Kira followed, wearing a repaired human combat suit. "If you're going," she said, "I'm coming too." The machine looked at her. "You understand the risk?" She nodded. "You need someone to remind you what being human means." The ship rose through the atmosphere, leaving the protected planet behind. As it entered the void, the machine linked itself to the ship's systems, extending its consciousness across every deck. Lights came on. Ancient systems hummed with new life. Weapons, shields, engines, all responded as if they had been waiting. For the first time in centuries, a Terran warship sailed the stars again. After several jumps through deep space, the Aegis Dawn reached the Helios Reach. The region was silent and dark, filled with debris from old wars. Dead satellites and broken stations floated endlessly. Kira shivered as she looked through the viewport. "It's like a graveyard." The war machine scanned the area. "There is power here, weak but still alive." A faint beacon pulsed from a derelict moon. The machine directed the ship closer. As they approached, huge structures appeared, massive hangars buried under ice and rock. "This was a Terran outpost," Kira said. "I can read the markings." The war machine nodded. "Designation, Outpost Sigma 9. Last recorded activity, year 3091. They landed near a collapsed hangar. Inside, frozen shadows of human soldiers lay scattered, locked in their final battle." Kira felt her chest tighten. They fought until the end. The war machine walked to the main console and connected to it. Ice cracked as old circuits sparked back to life. A low hum filled the chamber, followed by a voice, faint, broken, human. "This is Commander Elias Ward. Helios reach under siege. Activating Omega Protocol. Fleet entering cryosleep. If you're hearing this, humanity endures." Kira gasped. Cryosleep. "There's a fleet?" The machine's eyes glowed brighter. "Yes, and they are still here." It began transmitting activation codes through the base network. Deep underground, ancient reactors roared awake. The ice started to crack and melt. Then the ground shook. Giant doors opened beneath the frozen moon, and one by one, massive ships began to rise from the depths. Human ships, thousands of them, dreadnoughts, cruisers and carriers, all built for war. Their hulls bore the symbol of Earth, a blue sphere surrounded by silver wings. Kira couldn't breathe. By the stars. "This is the Lost Fleet." The war machine stood at the center of the control deck as the ship's systems came online. Voices filled the comm channels, sleepy, disoriented, but alive. "This is Admiral Ward. Identify yourself." "How long have we been asleep?" The war machine replied, "Too long. Humanity needs you again." There was silence for a moment. Then Ward's voice turned strong. "Then wake the fleet. The Terran Navy stands ready." The void exploded with light as ship after ship powered up. Engines burned blue, shields came online, weapons charged. For the first time in centuries, a human armada filled the stars. Kira smiled through tears. "We're not alone anymore." But the war machine didn't relax. "The Dominion will sense this. They will come with everything." "Then let them come," said Ward's voice. "We'll show them what humanity does when cornered." Moments later, a transmission cut through the static. It was a Dominion channel, filled with fury and fear. "Unidentified Terran fleet detected in Helios Reach. All Dominion sectors prepare for full mobilization." Kira looked at the machine. "They know." "Yes," it said. "And now the galaxy will remember what it tried to forget." Across the stars, other human relics began to awaken. Sleeper stations, old colonies, hidden AI cores, all responding to the same signal. The human empire was being reborn, and somewhere deep within the Dominion's core worlds, alien leaders stared at their screens in silence. "What have we done?" One whispered. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy trembled, not from conquest, but from the return of a species that refused to die. Humanity was back, and their war machine led the way. The galaxy was burning again. From the edge of Helios Reach, countless Dominion ships poured into the void, tens of thousands of war vessels forming a storm of fire and metal. At their center was the Obsidian Emperor, the largest ship ever built, carrying the Dominion's Supreme Council and their full war command. They had come to crush the Terran fleet once and for all, but waiting for them was something the galaxy had not seen for 1,000 years. The Lost Fleet rose. Upon rows of human dreadnoughts glowed like suns, their hulls shining with ancient power. Carriers, destroyers, and cruisers all stood in formation, weapons primed. At the center of them all stood the Aegis Dawn, with the war machine and Kira aboard. Admiral Ward's voice echoed through the comm channels. "All ships ready. It's been centuries since our last battle, but our duty remains the same. For Earth, for humanity." Kira stood beside the war machine. Her hands trembled, but her eyes were full of fire. "They'll throw everything at us." The machine looked out at the approaching storm. "Then we will show them what everything means." The Dominion fleet advanced. Energy weapons charged, filling the dark with deadly light. And then the war machine gave the order. Terran fleet, fire. Space itself seemed to explode. Thousands of plasma lances, railguns and beam cannons fired at once. The first Dominion wave disintegrated instantly. Explosions painted the stars red and gold. The soundless shock of war filled every screen. Admiral Ward shouted commands as the Lost Fleet moved like a single living creature. Old strategies, ancient formations, flawless even after centuries of sleep. But the Dominion responded fast. Their ships regrouped, their formations tightening. They unleashed waves of energy that tore through several human cruisers. Kira cried out, watching one ship vanish in a burst of flame. "We're losing them!" The war machine stayed calm. Loss is not defeat. Watch. It reached into the control systems and connected to every ship in the network. For a brief moment, its consciousness became the fleet. It felt every pulse, every gun, every dying signal, and it turned them all into one focused force. "All units," it said, its voice echoing across 1,000 ships. "Focus fire on the Emperor." The Dominion flagship loomed like a black mountain, surrounded by shielded escorts. It fired massive energy beams that sliced through space, destroying everything in their path. But the war machine was faster. Human ships dove between shots, firing coordinated strikes that hammered the Emperor's shields. The entire fleet moved like a single mind, guided by the machine's will. Admiral Ward laughed through the comms. "By the stars, it's beautiful." Still, the battle raged on. The Dominion released swarms of drones and gravity torpedoes. Each explosion rocked the Aegis Dawn. Alarms filled the bridge. Kira was thrown against the console. "Shields at 40%. "Hold steady," said the war machine. "Do not yield." Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the entire ship. One of the Dominion torpedoes had hit the reactor bay. Systems flickered. Fire spread across the deck. Kira coughed through the smoke. "We can't take another hit." The war machine turned to her. "Then it ends now." It walked to the central core and began connecting its systems directly into the ship's main reactor. Wires and conduits wrapped around its body as energy surged. Kira ran forward. "What are you doing?" "Finishing the war," the ship's AI protested. "Power overload will destroy." "Confirmed," said the war machine. "But humanity will live." It raised its arm and sent a final command to the fleet. "All ships, focus your fire on my mark. I will open the way." A deep pulse spread through the void. The war machine channeled its entire energy into the Aegis Dawn's main cannon. The ship's front section glowed brighter than a star. Now it roared. The cannon fired, a single beam of pure light, more powerful than anything the Dominion had ever seen. It pierced the shields of the Obsidian Emperor and tore straight through its core. The massive alien flagship split apart, burning from the inside out. The explosion consumed half the Dominion armada, but the Aegis Dawn couldn't take it. The reactor overloaded. The ship began to collapse. Kira screamed as flames engulfed the bridge. "No, there has to be another way." The war machine looked at her one last time. "You gave me purpose again. Now you must give humanity hope." It lifted its arm and threw Kira into the escape pod, sealing it shut. The pod launched out just as the ship exploded in a blinding flash of light. From her capsule, Kira watched as the Aegis Dawn vanished. The explosion rippled across space like a wave of dawnlight. The war machine was gone, but its signal remained. Across the fleet, human ships received a final transmission, its voice calm, proud, eternal. "Humanity endures. Protect each other, rebuild. The stars belong to you again." Days later, the surviving Dominion fleets retreated. The galaxy fell silent. At the center of the Helios Reach, the Terran banner once again shone from the command station. The lost fleet stood guard over a newborn peace. Kira walked through the halls of the flagship Vigilant Star, carrying a data crystal, the last memory of the war machine. She placed it inside a memorial core and whispered, "You were more human than any of us." Admiral Ward stood beside her. "He gave us back our world. Now it's up to us to keep it." Kira nodded. "He's not gone. He's out there, in the systems, in the code, in the stars." And as she looked out into space, she saw the distant flicker of a signal. A single line of code repeating through the void. "I watch. I protect. I am human." The stars themselves seemed to glow brighter, as if saluting the return of a species that had once been forgotten. The galaxy had feared the Terrans. Now it would remember why. Humanity had returned, and this time they would never fall again.